Welcome to Social Aloe Ministries, where we are committed to glorifying God and exposing the devil. I was recently communicating with someone, and the person mentioned that someone from a foreign country came here to the United States and noticed that it's like the church, or at least some of them, is asleep. And that's a very astute observation. But in a lot of ways, I have a slightly different opinion. It is not simply that the church is asleep. The church is wide awake. And a part of that, there were times when, for example, Jesus would heal a person of blindness, and others would complain. And the person who was blind was actually in a better position than the person or the people who were seeing and not doing anything, because Jesus told him that they were in willful sin. So there are things in the church where, yes, the church needs to wake up. Jude spoke of men coming in while we're unaware. But there are a lot of cases where people are fully aware of what's going on. Who is on the pulpit? Who is in the pulpit? Who's on those platforms? I remember I was listening to this minister, and he sounded great with some things that he was saying. But I had to tune him out. I had to stop watching him, because I saw him on stage with Todd Bentley, and he was quite comfortable. And a part of his reasoning was that in Matthew 13, Jesus gave the parable of the tares and the wheat, and how the farmer allowed the tares to grow up with the wheat. I have an issue with that. In that parable, the men had sown good seeds into good grounds, and when they were asleep, the enemy came in and sowed those tares. But they were unaware until the seeds started growing. But the thing is, we shouldn't be so asleep that we're allowing people to come in and sow tares into our lives. We shouldn't be so asleep that when they sow those seeds into our lives, that we do not realize what they've done and immediately uproot those seeds and not allow them to grow. We should not be so complicit that we see people who are in error and we refuse to call them out, and that we want to be there with them as if we're going to be the wheat growing up with the tares. The Lord does mention that it was prudent to allow the tares to continue to grow with the wheat, and that at the harvest they'd be uprooted and cast into the fire. That also factors when Jesus said that he's returning and he's going to separate the sheep from the goats. Peter wrote that judgment begins in the house of God. In Ephesians 5, Jesus is coming back for his bride, the church, without spot or wrinkle. We're supposed to wash her in the Word. We may as well start washing her now. Start cleaning house. For example, behind me there's some flowers. They're different colors. And not to make this a color thing, but it's evident that the flowers are different. We shouldn't be so complicit where the tares and the wheat are grown together, giving sermons together, and no one's calling out people as being tares, and just allowing them to spread their roots, their seeds, in the Lord's harvest. So in a lot of cases, the church is asleep. And part of the problem, the Lord has assigned different ministers, some who are supposed to be watchmen, and they were put out of churches. So it's not that the church was asleep. The church willfully allowed things to come in. In John 10, Jesus spoke about him being a good shepherd. And he mentioned about some people being hirelings, and that they allow the wolves to come in. So while people want to make parallels to Matthew 13, do not forget about John 10, where the hirelings allowed the wolves in amongst the flock. If the church was simply asleep, it would be a good thing. The church would not be in willful sin. But because the church was awake and allowed things to go on, and is allowing things to continue, that means the church is in willful sin. Maybe it doesn't apply to your church. I truly hope it doesn't. What's going on way too often, way too many places. So if we need to wake up, this is a wake-up call. If we need to speak up, this is time to speak up. Also in this hour, we're in the end times. A vital gift during this end time is a gift of the discerning of spirits, to be able to discern good from evil. But a part of being able to discern is also speak up. Call out the tares for being tares. Call out the wheat for being wheat. And understand the different protocols regarding that. Because sometimes you call out a tare and the enemy is going to come at you. So use wisdom. But the one thing you don't want to do is validate a tare as being wheat. Validate a hireling as being a shepherd. But we need to wake up. We need to open our eyes, and we need to speak up. If we were blind, we would not be in willful sin. Jesus is Lord, and he's coming back for his bride, the church.